Hello BookTube. Today is part 10 of my science fiction and fantasy library tour. Again, these are longer shelves, so there's going to be more books, and so I'll just go ahead and get on with it. So first up we have Furyborn by Claire Legrand. This is book 1 in the Imperium trilogy. Next, I have several books by Fritz Leiber. The Best of Fritz Leiber. I picked this up a few years ago at the Friends of the Library book sale. And then I have two books in the Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser series. Swords Against Death. And Swords in the Mist. And I just recently, I think I probably hauled this when I did my my most recent Friends at the Library book sale haul. I have The Three of Swords, which is an omnibus edition of, let me see here, Swords and Deviltry, Swords Against Death, Swords in the Mist, and yeah, so, and this came from the Waco McLennan County Library System. So, next I have a omnibus edition of The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. This is one of the film covers. Anyway, picked it up from Golden's Book Exchange and really have got to get around to reading it at some point in the future. Next, I have two novels by Ken Liu. The Grace of Kings and The Wall of Storms. These are the first two volumes in the Dandelion Dynasty series, and I want to say the third book it's either complete or nearing completion and is getting to the point where it's about to be published sometime next year, I think. Looking forward to it. Quite enjoyed Grace of Kings. I really need to go back to them both series though. Next I have a book by Helen Lowe. This is Heir of Night, book 1 of The Wall of Night. And now I have two Scott Lynch novels. This is The Lies of Locke Lamora. And Red Seas Under Red Skies. So these are the first two novels in the Lies of Locke Lamora series, or the Gentleman Bastard series. Next, I have two novels by Jen Lyons, or Jen Lyons. This is The Ruin of Kings, which I read this earlier, came out in February, and I read it a few months after that. Quite enjoyed it. Have a few issues with it. I'll discuss it when I reread it sometime early next year. And this is the sequel which came out a few months ago. In October. This is The Name of All Things. Book 2 in the... what series is this called? Does not say. Anyway, looking forward to getting back to The Ruin of Kings and reading The Name of All Things. Next, I have Seanan McGuire's Middle Game, which I thought was pretty good, but had a few issues. I think namely characterization, plotting, stuff like that. But I thought it was pretty good. Probably will come back to that again in the near future. Book I've been looking forward to getting to for a while is Gates of Stone by Angus MacLellan. And now I have the two books in the War for the Rose Throne series by Peter McLean. This is Priest of Bones, and this is Priest of Lies. They're basically fantasy versions of Peaky Blinders, and it is a blast. Just an absolute blast. Also quite similar to Cameron Johnston's Age of Tyranny series, although the main character is more of a mundane crime lord than he is a wastrel anti-heroic magician. So next is Brian McClellan's Sense of Empire. This is the first book in the Gods of Blood and Power trilogy. I really need to collect the earlier Powder Mage trilogy and the subsequent volumes in this book. To this one. I quite enjoyed it. Next, I have a massive amount of paperbacks. This is The Mirror Prince by Violette Milan. We saw her earlier under the pen name VM Escalada with the Halls of Law, I think. And then I have 3 books by Marshall Ryan Maresca, who is a prolific fantasy writer. He's famous for his seemingly never-ending Meridian series, which, if you want to know more, check out Thomas of SF180's channel. He gets review copies of these all the time. So these are the books, and I want to say it's the Thorn trilogy. So this is the Thorn of Denton Hill. And I have the other 2 volumes in this trilogy. The Alchemy of Chaos and The Impostors of Aventil. Excuse me. And then I have 2 books by Juliette Marillier, which I think one of these I hauled from the Friends of the Library book sale, and the other one I picked up from Golden's Book Exchange, which I don't think I was filming at that point. So this is The Dark Mirror by Juliette Marillier, and this is Son of the Shadows, again by Juliette Marillier. Next, I have 2 books in the A Song of Ice and Fire series by George R. Martin. This is Game of Thrones. This is one of the older editions with the painting on the cover, which I prefer these editions to the more recent ones, although the cover could have been a bit more, or the painting could have been a bit larger, I think. Anyway, and then I have a more recent edition of A Clash of Kings with the annoying HBO series sticker on the cover. Picked this up a few months ago from the Friends at the Library mini book sale. And the Game of Thrones I picked up from Golden's, although I had like the first volume, I think I picked up from Hastings like years and years ago. And then I picked up the subsequent 2 volumes, Clash of Kings and A Storm of Swords, in the trade paperback editions from Book People. Next, I have a book, a memory called Empire by Arkady Martine. Really quite enjoyed this one. Looking forward to the sequel, which should be coming out sometime next year. Already have it pre-ordered. Wrapping this up, we have Ailey Martinez's In the Company of Ogres. Julian May's The Many-Colored Land. Picked up In the Company of Ogres from Golden's, and this from the Frontier Library book sale. False Meadows, An Accident of Stars. And now we get to the Boss Log novels of China Mieville with Perdido Street Station, The Scar, and Iron Council. Looking forward to getting back to Boss Log in the near future. And then finally, we wrap this up with Blackfish City by Sam J. Miller, which I think was one of the strongest science fiction novels released last year. Although I do have some serious issues with some of Miller's choices. And then finally, we wrap up with some Elric novels or shorts, from Michael Moorcock. This is Sailor on the Seas of Fate, The Vanishing Tower, and Stormbringer. So, that was part 10? No, this should be actually part 11. Actually, now that I think about it, this should be part 11. Yeah, this is part 11. This is part 11. So tomorrow we will start on some more Michael Moorcock books. I have a few more books from him in different series, which weren't on this shelf. So I will do that tomorrow. But now I need to go put these books back on the shelf. And yeah. So thank you, BookTube.